friend, Jim here, and so glad that you have dropped in for another episode of the Sales Team Ready podcast. You're going to be really excited and very, very informed with this conversation as I'm speaking with my friend Anita Toth, who's an industry expert around churn. And she's worked with big companies with hundreds and thousands of employees, and she has mastered the art of getting the right information converted into the right systems that will help you eliminate churn from clients and then ultimately from team, right? It's about team retention and morale. Pay attention to the things that we're talking about, because as a scaling company, these are things that you must be aware of, because the most expensive thing you're going to do in business is acquire a client. And most people seem to forget that your greatest resource is the existing clients that you have, in terms of referrals, promotion, team satisfaction, simplicity, less cost to fulfill because you have your relationship with them. You're in a dynamic, you're in a different place. It costs more to serve newer clients. It costs more to acquire clients, and it definitely costs you a fortune to lose clients. So pay attention. Tune in, make sure that you can really focus. This is definitely an episode you're going to want to listen to more than once. All right. We'll see you on the inside. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to an amazing episode of the Sales Team Ready podcast, where all things are possible. There are no limits. There are no hurdles and challenges. There are only opportunities that you can overcome. And when you do, everything is possible. Everything is doable. You just need the right plan, the right strategy, the right mindset, and the right support. And we can go to town and make it happen. So I'm your host, Jim Padilla, and super proud to be able to be with you here. I love the fact that you trust us with your knowledge and your insight and to be part of your growth and success team. And we don't take it for granted. And we always have great, awesome interviews with incredible insights that are going to help you scale that game. Remember, if you're a person who is sold out to reaching the mountaintop, then this is the place for you. If you're trying to wonder if the mountaintop is your place, then this might be a little deep waters, and you might be a little offended sometimes with some of the things that we're going to say and challenge. I'm not here to convince you that greatness is within your grasp. I am here to support the people who want that, because you already know it. So hopefully we can convince you a little bit and give you a nudge along the way, and you'll get some great insights and powerful ahas as we have the conversation. Before we dive in, I'm going to ask you to go to, in the show notes, there are links, all the links are going to be there for you to be able to access everything you need. So if you're on the treadmill, if you're driving in traffic, don't trip. We don't want any accidents. Make sure that you bookmark this so you go back and get the information that you need. But if you have access to it right now, go to jimp360.com, JIMP, that's me, 360.com, and connect with me in whichever way that makes the most sense for you. When you get there, make sure that you download my contact information to your phone. So I have it. I will be in your phone. You'll be able to access me anytime you need it. And we want you to be able to reach out and let us know what things you want us to talk about, what topics are challenging you, so we can bring the right experts and the right trainings to you. You can also find me in whatever vehicle suits you. If you're an Instagram person, you can get me there. If there's Facebook, if you're Twitter, wherever you like to speak, we've got ways for you to access us. And we just want to be able to be here to be a resource for you. All right. So let's get ready to jump in here. Today, we're going to talk about helping your business crush churn. And the word crush was chosen intentionally. All right. Helping business crush churn by focusing on your customers' success and customer experience, and by understanding your customers' wants, needs, and desires. Because when you do, business is so much easier. Team growth is so much easier. Life happens, and scale is right around the corner when you can make that all work. Today's guest expert, our chief churn crusher, right, an award-winning customer retention strategist, Anita Toth. We're going to discuss the importance of creating exceptional customer experiences that create opportunities to increase customer retention. Now, I know I learned years ago from one of my mentors and friend, Patrick Dominguez, said, consistency is not sexy until it is attached to consistent revenue and consistent growth. Now, consistency is damn sexy. And that's what I'm hearing coming this conversation. So Anita, say hello to the Sales Team Ready audience.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Excited for this conversation Jim and I are going to have about Yeah, helping you retain customers longer. That's the flip side of churn. Churn is the dirty, and customer retention or client retention is what I hope through this conversation we'll see is sexy. This is where, money can be made, and there's lots of opportunities. So yeah, looking forward to this chat.
Definitely. And Anita and I have been in this back and forth conversation for several months now, trying to coordinate this conversation. I've had to reschedule a couple of times. We had a couple of mix-ups. So been very much anticipating this dialogue because it's such an important part of the conversation. Before we dive into that though, just take a quick minute and just give everybody a little bit of your journey. How did this conversation even get to be a thing in your life?
So it came out of a very painful experience. No surprise. I had worked for 16 years in a qualitative research institute at a top-ranked university here in Canada. They laid me off December 23rd, and I had been doing qualitative research for many years, bounced around for a little bit, had a Facebook ad agency for a while, had businesses that succeeded, some that failed. And then I landed in this whole world of SaaS, software as a service. And this word churn kept coming up. I was like, what is this? I was absolutely fascinated with it. And when your revenue is on a monthly basis, there's real focus on reducing churn versus if you have annual contracts. So I started digging into it and realizing, like, wait a minute, there's a really great opportunity for my skill set around surveys, focus groups, and interviews to help companies understand why their customers are leaving, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their expectations are. So not just interviewing them once they've left, why did you leave? But the bigger thing is, what was happening before then? What were some expectations that went awry? What were some of the processes or problems that were already cropping up before the customer made the decision to leave? So that's what I started doing, and gave myself that lovely title of Chief Churn Crusher, and have been doing this for several years. And I love it. I simply love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because as people are scaling, and thanks for sharing all that. There's so many things that we don't think about. Everybody is so focused. One of the biggest challenges I find in scaling companies and helping companies scale is that there's so much going on. It seems impossible at times to not be buried in the moment and buried in the weeds. And so you can easily just be a victim of your current moment and not be thinking about what's coming. And that often leads to a lot of churn. It costs a lot of money to scale, because you're constantly learning new things and failing at things and you're burning revenue. Churn is one of the most expensive things that you can burn is employees, team. And why is it worth an extra dose of time? And how much time would you say it's worth to really focus on this as a priority?
Well, you just have to look at customer lifetime value and how much revenue are you losing each time a customer leaves. And so most companies make this big mistake. They're like, okay, well, customer X left. Let's say their customer lifetime value, I don't know, was 100,000. And they just look at that current revenue. What they're not realizing is that there's also lost future revenue opportunities that can be as high as 2 times that current lifetime customer value. So future opportunities for upselling, for cross-selling, for renewals, for positive word of mouth marketing and referrals. Like right. that can be a huge chunk of revenue, not to mention all the time and money spent in acquiring the customer and serving them up to that point. So there's this idea that, oh, well, it was just $100,000. We'll just go find another customer that will replace that revenue. Well, if you're just constantly replacing revenue, you're actually not growing. So not only do you have to replace and look at those future revenue opportunities that were lost and the cost to serve that's already been paid out, you also have to look at replacement plus an extra customer to be able to then grow. So it's far more complex. I think people just get caught in the simplification. 100,000 out. Okay, we'll just replace with 100,000. Great. Everything's fine. And it's absolutely not like
Wow.
that at all.
That's amazing. It's so funny because as a sales guy, as somebody, I earn revenue like that. I can bring clients in all the time. So, and I've been caught up in that. There's been times where I've thought, well, is it easier to focus on improving the customer experience or just get more customers? And sometimes it's just easier to get more customers.
Mhm.
So you just keep getting in this cycle, get
Yeah.
more customers in, and then, show them the back door and then
Yeah.
eventually, and then get more customers in. And if we get more in, then go out, then we're winning.
Yeah. But like, okay, so to your point, Jim, you had said something right before we actually got on the call here and are formally recording this. Sales is sexy. It's fun. It's, you're trying all sorts of things. It's like marketing and sales are a lot like dating. Okay. You're going out, you're talking to lots of people, you're meeting people, hoping that you'll find the one that will then become a customer, right? So when they become a customer, it's like getting married. That is the commitments being made. You're having the wedding. Then there's usually a little honeymoon period as the customer is like, okay, well, these were the things that I was told I could expect it being a customer. But then there's a whole big chunk called the marriage, which is the retention piece. And what
Right.
sales doesn't see is how a poor fit customer really wears on the post-sales team as they're trying to serve this customer. A poor fit customer costs way more in terms of cost to serve. It's brutal on employee morale because these employees are trying to do their best to serve this customer who will never be a great fit, likely to churn. The customer is getting pissed off. Now they're going and talking to their friends or colleagues or posting publicly about their crappy service. So now you got negative word of mouth marketing, which impacts the brand, which also impacts your ability to sell. Because
Right.
if customers, potential customers are hearing this stuff, they might be like, you know what, I think I'm going to go check somebody else out. So there's very big downstream consequences to I'll just go out and, sell some more. And the thing is, it does become a bit of a loop in that it does impact your job in sales if you are constantly converting poor fitting customers. That might mean that the company is not being profitable, which at some point can lead to layoffs or a reduction in the marketing spend. So there's all sorts of ramifications that don't seem obvious at first, but it's really tough. And the post-sales team, that's who I work with.
Right.
They are honestly very empathetic, giving people who are trying to do their best. But you know what? If you've got, a square hole and a round peg, they're trying their best. And it gets very demoralizing for them.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, it just sounds, I can hear people right now listening saying that's great, but who's got the time or the money to improve all of that? I'm too big. I'm barely hanging on, just running my business.
Yep. I hear you. So I have a suggestion for you. This is what we do. If you haven't implemented this yet, talk to your customers or clients that have just left and find out what's going on. When they became a client or a customer, they signed up with you. They were excited about something. They were hoping that you would help make something happen for them, solve a problem, make something better, whatever it is. And somewhere between when they made the decision, yep, let's go through with this, you and I are going to be in a committed relationship, something along that marriage retention piece led them to go, I want divorce. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. If you can speak with them afterward and find out what happened, it will start giving you insights into what happened along that journey. Was it promises made in the sales cycle that they were like, hey, this never happened to me as a customer. This was not my experience. And when expectations and reality have a big gap, people get pissed off pretty damn fast, and they're out of there. They leave. So that would be the first place. And it doesn't take much. We're talking a 20-minute call, sit down, talk to a few of them and start finding out, because honestly, it will make everything better for you. from your sales process to your post-sales processes as well as the customer journey.
So if it's useful to go back to people who've left, how much more important is it to catch them before they leave? Like if you've got somebody who's, you can, I remember, I don't know who gets credit for the saying, but typically when somebody's going to get fired, unless you were an idiot, you already knew it was coming, right? Because you weren't doing right. Things were not going the way you knew they should be. It's very rare that you're totally surprised out of the blue that you got let go. And it's similar with a client. If a client unless you are absolutely not paying attention, if a client is going to part ways with you, customer is going to exit and leave, you knew it was coming. There was some signs. So when, do you have like a process, a strategy? Here's a 3-step process to be able to figure this out and go make something happen.
Absolutely. So I work backwards, then forwards. If you haven't talked to the customers that have just left, or your clients that have just left, start there. That's kind of the most important. And recency is important. Don't wait 6 months. You want to get them within the first week and a half, really as early as possible, so that those emotions and feelings, and also it's really fresh in their mind, is really what it comes down to, right? You want to get that recency. Then it's looking within the marriage. What are the signs there? One of the places where we see this primarily in SaaS, but you can see it in every single business model. There's an onboarding or honeymoon phase where, okay, we just signed the deal, let's get things going. That's often the place where expectations and reality don't match. So again, expectations maybe through marketing or through sales or through both, that somehow they got this idea in their head of, this is what it's going to be like. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Then they get in it and they're like, whoa, this wasn't at all what I expected. Or it might be close to what they expected, but there's still a gap and they are feeling disappointed.
Right.
Okay. So when you start getting some of those negative emotions like disappointment, all the way down to just pure anger, like in some ways, the customers that are really, or clients that are really ticked off and leave very soon, they're easier to deal with than the ones that are more sneaky, where it's that disappointment. Because what they do then is look for other areas where they become disappointed and disappointed again and disappointed again. And so those are harder to track. So while you're going through whatever your onboarding process is, or the first 90 days as a client or customer, however you conceive of that, look for things, and they're small often. So there's not quite the enthusiasm to book meetings. They're not engaging as they used to. Like, you're finding it harder to get time with them, or to take, for them to take the actions that you need them to take in order that, they can be successful. You start looking for stuff like that. I wish, Jim, I could give you a 1, 2, 3, go do this, but that's not how a marriage works. That's not how a long-term friendship works. That's not how any long-term relationship works. You have to look for the subtle clues like that. The engagement starts dropping. You're noticing when you are on the meetings that the enthusiasm level isn't there. Those are the times, like you said, just like the person who gets fired, like they knew it was coming because there were subtle signs leading up to it. And this is where you got to kind of be a bit of a detective and start picking up on those signals, so that you don't end up totally surprised when this client or customer goes, yep, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing is that more than anything, it's not necessarily how you do it. It's important that you do it. You got to build into your week, into your month, into your day. Somewhere has to be, let me assess my process with my team or my clients. You have to review and examine what's going on. You can't just be so busy serving clients that you forget to examine the process that you're using to serve your clients. Yeah. Right. So if you make a periodic review, quarterly, monthly, weekly, I don't know, it depends on the volume and the size and scope of your business, but you need to have a check-ins. You got, if you have a bigger company, we've got a lot of team leaders and project managers and coordinators. And so a lot of people can be siloed. And so something can be going great over here, something poor over here. And if we're not all checking in on that, then everybody doesn't know. And so
Yeah.
what we need to make sure that we're instilling an actual check-in, because we do it, but we don't, but not systematically or strategically. It's just more like, something feels off here. Let's go check it out. And we need to actually look at it. We need to build in, okay, once a month, leadership meeting, what's happening here? Why is this different? What are we doing? How is this service being, how are they handling it? Because we actually have a client like that right now that we're already in that process. We're like, okay, we're feeling like the door is coming closer. And it's been a great experience, but it's clear that he wants to control the process a lot more than what we normally do, because it's our process.
Right.
And making, just all of a sudden not able to show up for certain calls and different meetings. And it's like, okay, some red flags are coming up. Right. And so we got to pay attention to that. So I like that. We're going to take a quick 10-second pause here for pay some bills. So hang tight, guys. We'll be right back. Sales Team Ready podcast is sponsored by Gain the Edge. Gain the Edge is a sales acceleration company that helps people build systems and teams and strategies that help you actually have a business that is designed to generate revenue instead of just accidentally making it. Please check us out in the show notes, because we have monthly workshops that are designed to help you get this in play. I know our next one coming up is our 2-day strategic plan workshop, where it's a simple roadmap to a 7-figure business. Visit the links in the show notes. And if you can't sign up for the one that's here, make sure you get yourself on the waiting list and we'll get you taken care of. Yeah, so I like that. Everything you're saying, I'm going to put the sales brain on here. This, so for you who are in the scaling game, guys, we're always charging ahead. And what you have to understand is who is the most likely person to buy your products and services? The people who've already bought your products and services, right? Nobody will invest in you more powerfully than somebody who's already invested in you and you've already earned their trust. So you can't let people go out the door. You have to do everything in your power to keep them here. And I know you've got a strategy, a branded process to make this go. How do you, what's your process, and walk us through some of the highlights of that?
Absolutely. So no surprise is based on what I told you at the beginning, which is all those years of qualitative research experience working in that university. We suggest qualitative research methods, which doesn't sound sexy at all, but let me tell you, surveys, focus groups, and interviews. And I'm like, I know people are like rolling their eyes like, ugh, surveys. Like, we already get surveyed so much, but what it is you're looking to have a real conversation and trying to find out what, like your example, Jim, like, why is it that now this person's trying to control this whole process, your client that you have now, and it looks like they're heading out the door? You have to have a strategy. And unfortunately, most companies, so have you ever, I don't know, I'm going to ask this question, Jim. I know I did it, especially as a kid. Have you ever cut your own hair?
Yeah.
Okay. What were the results like?
Not well.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's put it this way. I got grounded after I did it.
All right. So like I've done the same thing, right? I've cut my own hair. Well, that's how most companies approach their qualitative feedback methods, or their surveys, their focus groups, their interviews. Really, it's the hard stuff. The data is actually really easy to collect. You can just observe what customers are doing. You're kind of like, okay, they did this, 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 and this. Check, 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 check. But you need to go deeper and have conversations. And a survey is a monologue. You just send it out, somebody types something back, and you have no idea what the context is. Focus groups and interviews is really where you're getting now. It's a true dialogue. Can you tell me a little bit more about that answer? How did that make you feel? What did you expect that didn't happen? You can really dig deep. And so if you're like, oh, I don't want to do interviews or focus groups, and I don't know, we do send out surveys, but our response rate's really poor. We are professionals. That's what we do. So it's like the haircut you can have at home, which it'll cut your hair. Like, absolutely, you achieve the end goal. But what does that look like? And so this is, we're experts at this and help companies figure out the right strategy to use. Because for some companies that are smaller, surveys may not be the answer, but maybe doing customer interviews are. And, before you worry, like, oh, I don't know how to do customer interviews, there's no worry at all. Actually, you can either do it in-house or you can have a third party do it for you and then do it longitudinally. So one of the things we do is every quarter, we will sit down and do 30 customer interviews for a client. And then we can track over time what is happening, not only with that particular client, but also just sort of more broadly. What are we starting to hear that's changing? So maybe there's now new market influences that when they became a client weren't a big concern, but now are starting to become a concern that they might be thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to look over at, you can say a competitor, but I'm starting to get a bit of a wandering eye. If we go back to the analogy of, a customer relationship being like a dating relationship, they're starting to get the wandering eye. They're starting to look around. Maybe they'll even take a test drive to see, maybe they're taking demos elsewhere.
Who should be thinking about this? Like everybody, or if is there certain, like if we're doing great, our customers are happy, but I don't need to worry about this. This is like a level 5 priority instead of a level 1. Who should be addressing this?
Ideally, this should be coming from, if you have a board, this should be, a board focus, reducing churn down to founder, CEO. This is like high level. They're the ones that really should be pushing this to find it, because it's so tied to revenue. Every time a customer leaves, like I told you, it's not only the current revenue that walks out the door, it's all the costs to serve that walks out the door, plus all those potential future revenues as well.
Right.
So when it's looked at this way, that's all their concern. They want to see, how do we grow this company? And right now, your profits are literally walking out the door each time a customer leaves.
And that should be scary to everybody, especially in times like now. I mean, I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm an opportunity guy. And but as we've come through the last couple of years of the COVID and whatever that has meant to you in your life and in your world, you have to understand that it's impacted the world in ways that you might not be thinking about. Your customers are less trusting. They're more fearful. They have more doubts. They have more worries. They have more concerns. And so how that turns up in your world is it takes longer to get them to trust you enough to buy from you. Right. So the client engagement cycle, the prospect journey is longer and it costs more and you have to put more into it. Don't fool yourself and don't think that this isn't happening to you, which means you got to work twice as hard to not lose the customers you have, because they're the ones that you're going to grow with. Like everything that Anita has been talking about, we live on referrals. We have a ton of referrals consistently. But we work very hard at putting those systems into play. And I do not like to lose a client, because like you said, every client has which isn't about the money, but it's about the money. You need money to pay bills, and every client has a lifetime value in that relationship. And you've got to be intentional about it. And I know you've got your customer insights 360 process. That's your branded process.
I do.
Jim,
can I just say one thing? Oh my God, I'm like, want to bite my fingernails. I'm so excited by what you just said. The information that is gathered through things like interviews, focus groups, surveys, it goes back to sales so that you have a deeper understanding of how a poor fit customer thinks, what they expect, the outcomes that they want, how they see the world. Like, to me, it makes sales and marketing's job easier, because now oh, I'm hearing these certain things. Our poor fit customers tend to speak like this. Our good fit, because there's going to be a difference between the two. There absolutely is. Customers or clients that stay with you for a long time think differently, they expect different things, they behave differently, they feel differently, they view their problem and their solutions differently from poor fit ones. So I wanted to really iterate this, as boring as it might sound. We got to talk to customers and interview them and all of that. And I got to say, the reason why you want to do this is so you can compare in a standardized way, right? Talk to a whole bunch of really good customers or clients, talk to your, poor fit ones, the ones who are unhappy, the ones who are just left, and contrast the two and pull that out and use it in your marketing and sales, because that's going to help your CAC go down, as well as customer lifetime value going up. The more good fit customers you can attract, it's going to make a bigger difference, make your sales cycles shorter, And it's just a heck of a lot less effort on your part as you try to get them to become a customer.
Yeah, that's so important. All of that, guys, you need to be soaking this up. And again, if you're listening while you're doing some other things, that's awesome. Bookmark this. This is one you're going to want to be listening to over and over again, because there's so much relevant information that you need to be taking on, and take it from a company that's scaling and generating millions and generating hundreds of millions of dollars for other people. We see so much money walk out the door because of things that are missed like this. And you just, it's not just about losing the money. It's about a part of you walks away every time that happens. Part of you is like, oh my God, we worked so hard with this client. And then you start questioning, I'll share my experience on this. When this stuff happens, I start wondering if I'm even doing this right. And then it starts affecting my ability to close sales, because I'm like, well, if we're not doing this right, should I even bring this new client in? And we're doing it great. We just need to do it better. And, it messes with you. It messes with everything. All of a sudden it affects revenue and it affects cycles. And then, if you lose clients like that, then it affects team morale. And like I said, everybody starts questioning, are we doing this right? Is the company doing okay? And then they start worrying. And then you got the team that's jumping ship because they think something's not happening here and we're fine. We're just having a little hiccup. It affects, there's so many ripple effects that come out of this.
It's huge. And I want to say this as well. You can even do this as a project. It's one of the things that many of our clients, when they first come to us, want to do. They want to understand, why are these customers leaving? And we don't just talk to the ones who are leaving. We talk to their good customers too, for that reason. So we can start comparing and contrasting, so they can get the information they need to put it back into marketing, to put it back into sales, to put it back into their onboarding process. Because it's, again, really, Jim, like what you just said is really the true impact. Employee morale. If you've got that post-sales team that is really struggling to help these people, they get burned out and feel like they're not of value. They're not able to really perform the job like they'd like to, because they've got too many poor fit customers. So then they start leaving. Then, like, you're right, it ripples right through. This is a really big deal. So do a project, interview 30, 40 customers, 20 good ones, 20 who just left or are very unhappy, and compare and contrast what's similar, what's different. Then take that stuff and start using it in your marketing and sales, and you will see a difference. Like, it's going to be almost like night and day. I have to say, it is really surprising when you start going, yep, this is how our good fit customers talk. And you can hear it in the sales process, just even how they frame the problem that they have. Right.
And it's going to be so helpful to be able to have, manage expectations, right? It's going to, because sometimes I have this tendency, I get people very excited about what they're doing. And then all of a sudden they hire us and they think, man, my problems are solved forever. And we're like, well, we're not there yet. We still, we work with people on 12 and 24-month contracts because we got work to do. It's because it's a journey. And so when they come in, we have to manage. We have to say, yes, we're going to get there. And we're going to both have to roll up our sleeves. There's a lot of work to be done between now and then. Sometimes that's not, I can say it in the sales process, but they don't hear it. All they hear is, oh, we're going to make a bunch of money together and we're going to solve problems and I'm not going to have to do sales and blah, blah, blah. Right. So you really got to be able to use the right words that they'll be able to hear, to still be excited about the opportunity, but be realistic about what things are going to come. And I hate the word realistic because that's the fastest path to mediocrity in my thing. But you do need to make sure that you're managing expectations for sure.
I can't even get the words out. I'm so excited to hear this, because that is one of the biggest reasons why, again, clients stop being clients. If at the beginning, think of it like a honeymoon, it's all going well at the very, very beginning, but then you're starting to notice, oh, I never knew this. And oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, what is this? This kind of came out of the blue. That disappointment starts creeping in early. And once that negative trajectory is happening, it's really hard to turn that ship around. So I get that it's exciting, just like dating. It's exciting as you get close to that marriage and that commitment's being made. That's where it becomes really critical. And I'm so glad you shared this, Jim, because you can tell I'm an excited person. That's just how I am. And I have to do the same things about what's it going to be like for them when the rubber hits the road. And if that disappointment starts creeping in super early, again, it's really hard to turn that around. Even over a 12-month engagement, it's like those impressions matter. They had your impression of you as a salesperson, but they're also going to have a big impression when they became a client.
Right.
So that's what you're really trying to manage, is that period of whatever weeks or a few weeks, maybe a month or so. You want to manage those expectations, because boy, doubt, disappointment, upset, they're insidious. And once they're rooted, it's really, really hard to try to get rid of them.
Yeah. Well, really important stuff, guys, because when you're in the scale game, quite honestly, one of the biggest things that we see is when you're scaling, you're not at full strength most of the time, because you can't wait for perfection. You're building stuff as you're growing, which means it's not at its most optimal place. And your clients are okay with that. If they know that ahead of time, and they know that you're working on it, or it's clear how you're going to support the weak parts, right? The parts that aren't there. And we tell people all the time, hey, we're working on this. This is a new project for us. And here's what that means to you, right? And we check in, because even though somebody says, yeah, no problem, we get it. 30 days, 60 days from now, they're like, how come this isn't working? Like, I told you it wasn't working right. Just, we're working on it. But so it's really about building. It's like you said, marriage, that's a perfect analogy, right? Because now you're in the marriage. It's like, well, how come you never told me that? Well, I did tell you that, kind of, but now I'm showing you more, And so it's like, you're going to reveal your ugly truths, and the things are going to show, and it's a relationship. You guys got to make sure there's more good things than those other things, and that your relationship can bear it, because no opportunity is going to be perfect. And before we wrap up here, I just want to say one comment to all of you here. If you're one of those people that say, oh, I don't lose clients, then the only thing I have to say to you is add the word yet, because nobody bats 1,000 on this stuff. And if you're not losing clients, it's because you probably haven't had many clients or customers or whatever, whoever fits your build. When you're scaling, that means you're growing. And when you're growing, you're churning and churning. It's just part of the game. It is a byproduct of the scale environment. So you just need to learn how to do it more strategically and more managed, so that it doesn't bite you. So share your, any words of wisdom. We have your contact points in the show notes, guys. Make sure you go to the show notes so you can get a hold of Anita there, and make sure you tell her where you found her, and tell her we said, hey, check out her website, her blog. She's got a lot of good information and education on this. Get yourself educated, and then reach out to her and see what it would look like if she can help you. So what kind of companies do you specifically work with? And then who else could you just, get really good information for?
Absolutely. So like my goal, surprisingly, maybe not, I want to make the client or customer relationship better. That's really my goal. So our bread and butter is B2B SaaS companies, typically, on the low end, 10 million, 50 to 100 million is annual recurring revenue is where we work. However, that being said, we always have a chunk of clients who don't fit into our sort of main ideal customer profile. And so reach out and talk. I have resources for you. It doesn't, you don't have to hire us. If we can have a conversation and you can go away and make a difference so that your clients feel like, wow, I want to stay with this company longer, and you change some of those processes, to me, that's a big win. It really is. So it's worth having a chat about, and we can see where it goes. That's really how it is. Maybe that's not the best sales pitch. I realize I'm talking to a bunch of salespeople, but that's where I operate from. And the right clients end up coming, whoever they are. It's just we tend to focus there. But I certainly have other clients that are agencies that aren't even in tech. And so, just reach out, have a conversation.
So I will rephrase that for her a little bit in that she's a rock star at what she does, and she gets it. And so, and as our company, we tend to work with 7, 8, 9-figure companies more than not. We still have tons of value and research. That's what this podcast is about, is a way to bring great knowledge to people who may never hire us. And so if you're getting valuable insights, and I'm assuming that you are from this last 30, 40 minutes here, reach out to Anita, see what resources she has. If you're not at a place where she's not going to take your money if you are not an ideal client for her, but she will impart valued information. You can check out her blog, check out her free resources, have a conversation with her or her team, and get some good insights that will plug some holes in your company and help you revamp some thought processes around how you're growing your company. So please take that action and go make sure you tell her that we said, hey. So I'd love to see you scaling with a little bit more strategy and a little bit less loss as we're rolling. So this valuable information is the reason we had this conversation. Is the reason that we've, Anita and I have been pursuing this conversation for several months, even though we've had a lot of missed timings, because I think it's a really important conversation for everybody to be having. It's literally one we're having in our company right now. So I know it's important and I know you need it. So thank you so much for sharing. Anita, any parting thoughts that you want to provide for people?
I feel like I want to be like a little cheerleader and like put my hands up and say, you can do it. It's going to be hard work. You mentioned it, Jim. It's going to be hard work. You're going to hear things that you probably don't want to hear. But if you can see those as opportunities rather than criticisms and use this to really up your game, it's going to make so many things easier, including retaining that revenue that you work so hard to get. So those are my parting words. You can do it. Might be a little hard, but it is absolutely worth it.
Amen. Great words. Well said. Guys, I thank you as always for trusting us to be part of your success team. We're here to help. We're here to make it matter, help it make a difference. What you do matters, and you deserve to be paid well for it. And the people are out there right now that are praying for the solutions that you bring. And we want to make sure that once they find you, they know how to engage you and they want to stay with you forever. So make it happen. Go make the cash registers ring and go make impact in people's lives. All right. We'll see you soon.